Welcome to The Other Side of the Page, a bookish podcast where we yap about the books we love
and the songs that give us main character energy.
We're here to sift through the chaos that is our TBR.
And to let you know why a book might just be your next favorite read.
I'm Britt, dramatic plot twist lover and champion for MMCs needing to be more pathetic and down bad.
And I'm Hannah, reader of at least 5 books at once and a detailed fantasy map enthusiast.
Every Wednesday, press play on a brand new bookish episode.
And stay up to date with the books that we will be covering by following us on social media at othersideofthepagepod on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads.
And don't forget to follow, rate, and review the podcast a shining 5 stars on your preferred platform because it helps us so much with visibility.
Yes, and this week we had one of our book besties, Kristen, which you can find her at Witch Book Next, like the magical witch. We had her pick out our book for the week for this Look What You Made Me Read episode.
Yes.
And she chose The Wife Between Us by Greer, Hendrix, and Sarah Pekkanen.
Absolutely. And we'll be talking about our song choices alongside of the plot, chatting about our favorite moments, and hearing from Kristen about why she picked this book specifically for us. So grab an iced coffee
or iced chai
and let's turn the pages together.
Let's hear from Kristen why she chose this book for us.
Cannot wait.
Hey Britt, hey Hannah. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast and for allowing me to choose your next book, which is The Wife Between Us by Greer, Hendrix, and Sarah Pekkanen. I absolutely love this author duo. Everything that they write in their whole catalog is fantastic. Give it a try when you can. This book holds a special place in my heart because when I was postpartum with my second child, I just really felt like I had almost lost my identity. And I remember picking up a library card one day, and this was the first book that I got from the library, and it skyrocketed me back into my absolute obsession and love for reading. It's got some great twists and turns, an unexpected ending, and yeah, I hope that you guys really enjoyed it.
I know, when she said it, I was just so excited to read it.
I know, I could not wait. We just adore Kristen so much, and we were like, of course we'll read whatever you tell us to. So yeah. We were really excited to get our hands on this one, and we can't wait to tell you what our song choices are.
Dear reader, here's a synopsis of The Wife Between Us. When you read this book, you will make many assumptions. You will assume you're reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she's obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. Read between the lies. Mm-hmm. And we think you should read this book if you want to be pulled in different directions and are ready to figure out those lies.
Yes, and you might want to avoid this book if any of the following are potentially triggering for you. Domestic abuse, emotional abuse, toxic relationship, infertility, alcoholism, infidelity, abortion, death of a parent, car accident, death in general. So remember, we'll be talking about the book as a whole. So if you have not read it and you don't want spoilers, now would be the time to pause and come back once you have read it.
Mm-hmm. So here are our song choices.
Yes.
I picked You Oughta Know by Alanis Morissette.
What a phenomenal song choice. What a great pick.
Thank you.
And then I picked an angry cover of this song that I just love so much. A little less for the lyrics, a little more for the scorned vibes. But I picked Happier Than Ever, but Kelly Clarkson's cover.
Oh, we love Kelly.
We sure do. Now we're going to head into our Pages Turned and Bridges Burned section. So this episode, we won't be going as in depth with the plot as we do with like our long story short episodes, but the Look What You Made Me Read style will go over our song choices and then specific highlights from the book.
So let's start with our theme lyrics and why you picked the song.
Perfect.
So my theme lyric is, and I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away.
Mm-hmm.
And so this song, diving right into spoilers because I can't talk about the song and not talk about the book as a whole. But the song gave me the vibe from both like Emma and Vanessa.
Agreed.
Like kind of like, you know, you ought to know, like talking to Richard, talking to each other, like just they're there to remind them of different things. And the mess, like I'll go into it more as we go, but just the mess that like both of them kind of left and everything with that. With Emma, the trouble that Vanessa created between her parents. And Vanessa to like Richard because he made her life hell and all that stuff. So
yeah,
go more into that later, but that's my theme lyric.
Totally. So my theme lyric is you ruined everything good, always said you were misunderstood. And again, like this lyric in particular, I think the you ruined everything good, leading up to like the Nellie, Vanessa, the reveal of Richard's deep abuse. And, you know, he always claimed like, your friends just don't see it. Your friends just don't understand like kind of the life that we live.
Mm-hmm.
And he quite literally did ruin everything in their life. And I also think this can relate a little bit to Emma, looking at it from the perspective of Vanessa ruining her relationship before she came to terms with what was actually in front of her. Yet just being like, you ruined everything good. Like, you're ruining my life. You're ruining my relationship. Look what you're making my fiance do. Look at the way that you're behaving. So I think that it could pull for both. Again, a little less about the lyrics, but like if you listen to Kelly Clarkson's cover, so I heard someone say like Billy's original is like the young love, like the teenage love, and Kelly Clarkson's is like the divorced, like scorn, where it's like coming from two different perspectives. So that's why I picked her cover specifically.
Like it.
Mm-hmm.
So with this book, we have like three main characters. We have our Richard, Vanessa / Nellie, and the replacement, Emma.
Mm-hmm.
How did like the dual timelines and the shifting perspectives kind of influence your reading experience as you were going with all of them?
I do feel like through the front half of the book, I was pretty confused. Not necessarily in a bad way, but I was just like, I don't like, I was trying to put together the pieces and I like thought I kind of had an idea. And I was just like, who are these people and what is going on? And then the one thing that I will say did confuse me, like actually confused me, was some of the flashback moments, how they were interwoven into the actual scene. Just like it would pop in and out of past tense to present tense. I would be like, wait a minute, how long ago was that? What are we talking about? But ultimately, I think that it was the good version of confusion because it kept me on my toes until we got to the reveal. What about for you?
Yeah. I liked it. And I think going through the audiobook and reading, that confusion of like the flashbacks helped a little bit with like the physical book.
Yeah.
But when we revealed that Nellie and Vanessa were the same person, I was like, oh.
Yes.
Oh. So I think that it led me to really like be involved into the story more with like the flashbacks and the dual timelines to like
totally
try to understand what was going on, like you said.
Yeah. And it was like, were you like, what did you think about the connection specifically between like Vanessa and Emma, Nellie and Vanessa figuring out that they were the same person? Like, were you surprised by any of that?
I was surprised who Emma was. I was trying to figure out, I thought Richard or Maureen had more ties to like Maggie and everything that happened in her past, more so that way. I wasn't really looking at the professor and like her.
I wasn't
affair.
either. I thought Emma might have been like Maggie's sister, or like I thought it could have been something along those lines, because I was like, there's no way that Emma is just like a piece. Like there's no, she has to have more to the story. No, I agree though. I kept thinking about Maggie. I did not think about the professor like at all.
Yeah, that was not even on my radar. And I wonder if it's because like we were in a sorority. Surprise if you don't know. We're very anti-hazing though. Britt was our new member educator, so
guys,
was our president. A scavenger hunt was considered hazing. So
yeah, we were something. We were the weird sorority, you guys. There was a reason that we ended up in the same sorority.
Yes. But anyway, like it made me think of like, there are sororities like that, and like things happen that are so bad, and it just like, I wonder if like we focused on that more, and that like also.
I think so. Because I was immediately connected to that piece of the story, and I was like,
could you imagine you're little? Just no.
Like they just like ran out, and the way that they did like their littles was more traditional to sororities than how we did our littles. So like if you were ever in a sorority, usually you got like assigned your little right out of the gate. After recruitment and after you bring them all in. We did like we would like list top 5 back and forth, and it would take the whole semester. We would do a big little reveal. So imagine like getting paired with a girl that you like kind of connected with during recruitment, and now you're like solely responsible for her, and then your sole responsibility ended up with her dead in the ocean.
Yeah. So that's where I feel like we've talked about it before, about like reading also like your personal experiences also influence like how you interpret things.
I totally agree.
So I'm interested. We should ask Kristen about that, kind of where her focus was too.
I'm curious because she did do a reread to like buddy read this with us for this episode. So I do want to know what her thoughts are on that.
Yeah. Another part here is like with my song,
Mm-hmm.
there's lyrics that's like, you seem very well. Things look so peaceful. I'm not quite as well. I thought you should know. And that just reminded me of like Vanessa and Emma both kind of coming to like Vanessa telling Emma, like, you seem happy in this relationship, but it's all a facade. Like, I set you up. And Emma's like, you set me up? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a very much like, I'm not like, things may look peaceful on the outside, but there's like layers
Yeah.
and layers and layers behind it. And they like want to know like where that other person is coming from.
Totally. It reminds me of the Spider-Man meme when they're all just pointing guns at each
Yep.
other. One piece of my lyric is actually ties to one of the quotes that I put down. So one of the quotes was from Richard that said, "You need to remember that even when I'm not there, I'm always with you." And one of the lines, like the lyrics in the song, is, "Do you read my interviews or do you skip my avenue? When you said that you were passing through, was I even on your way?" Um, and I feel like that ties into the level of control and how intensely Richard has his current relationship under his thumb and under a
Mm-hmm.
microscope. I was always wondering like who was doing surveillance for him because I know that, you know, they had the location, but it seemed like he had eyes in a lot of places.
Yes.
So it makes me wonder like who, because I started to question like who Vanessa could trust. I was
Mm-hmm.
questioning who Emma could trust. I was definitely on that like, oh, I wonder what is going on here. And it even ties down to the next line there where it said, this was about like when Vanessa would confront Richard and she knew she had to be like very tactful in the way that she said and did things. But it said,
Mm-hmm.
I knew when I asked you to be cool about what I was telling you, you did the opposite what you said you do, and I'd end up more afraid. And, you know, I think that the one thing is, I think that the grand reveal was supposed to be like the tension between like the domestic abuse and everything that happened. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't part of the like, I think that that was a very obvious piece of the puzzle that was laid down.
Yeah.
But I think as the pieces were putting into place, a song like this made a lot of sense to me because I was like, oh, yeah, like when I'm away from you, I'm happier than ever. When Richard was gone, that's when Nellie slash
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa found peace within herself and was like,
Yep.
oh, like the whole the one side plot that I was like, oh my God, this was so good was the Duke side plot. And I choose to believe that Duke is safe and happy. And I
Yes.
believe that
With
Duke
the
is safe and
family.
happy
Yep.
with the
Mm-hmm.
family somewhere because that's exactly what Richard said. And I believe Richard is a man of his word. You just have to interpret his words the way that he intends. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that that was like her clue in was like, oh, she's finally happy and now she's going to be punished by having this taken away. And you start to think about all the ways that she was losing her mind and all of the things that Richard was doing. And she didn't start putting those pieces together until she saw the therapist. And then we also have the
Yep.
tie from the therapist at the end. However, I did kind of think that there was a little bit more to it just because we knew how intentional Vanessa was about everything she was doing moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And kind of going off that too, one of my favorite quotes in the book is, in my marriage, there were three truths,
Mm-hmm.
three alternate and sometimes compelling realities. There was Richard's truth, there was my truth, and there was the actual truth, which is always the most elusive to recognize. Like it goes on to say, you know, this could be the case in every relationship. But I think in these thrillers and domestic thrillers, that idea of like the three truths is
Mm-hmm.
so interesting. And you
Yeah.
know, you have like what we're reading, like we talk about unreliable narrators too, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
there's the truth that we're reading, the truth that they're telling us, and then the actual truth. So
Yeah,
I liked that like concept there.
totally. And I think too, the one thing I will say is I personally would not categorize this as a thriller. I feel like this is more of like a domestic suspense or like a domestic
Mm-hmm.
mystery.
Yeah.
If I were to recommend this to people, I would not say, hey, go read this thriller. I would say, hey, go read this domestic suspense, domestic, like this mystery book and watch it unravel because it just wasn't like, I think that I need to personally mitigate some expectations going into books like this because like if it says thriller, I'm expecting like like a thriller piece to it. I was
Yeah.
waiting for the other shoe to drop with Richard. Um
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that I disliked it and it's not that I had like all of these things wrong with it. I think that I just was expecting something to be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he did that." Like I was expecting
Yeah.
Richard to be like a murderer.
Yeah. I was expecting more out of Richard, but I was
Yeah.
glad that like Emma wrapped everything up. Like the epilogue with
Yes.
Emma wrapping everything
Yes.
up. I'm like, ooh, okay. That like sold the book for me. Like wrapped it up in a nice bow. And I'm like, cool.
Yes. Without that reveal at the end, I don't
Mhm.
know if I would have felt as satisfied with it. But I think that also ties into one of the quotes here that I put down was, maybe being in love carries the requirement of filtered vision, and perhaps it is so for everyone.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was super interesting.
Yeah. And that ties into my last quote too. Like, I was happy, I think, but I wonder now if my memory is playing tricks on me, if it's giving the gift of an illusion.
Yep.
So very interesting. I enjoyed this book. Thank you, Kristen.
I did too. Yes. Thanks, Kristen. It was really like, you never really knew which way was up, which I do really like when I read any sort of mystery, suspense, anything like that. But yeah, I got to the end and I was like, wait a minute, that can't be it. Like, that can't be it. And then we got Emma's perspective and I was like, understood. Now I get it. Like, there had to have been something. And that last twist did, like I said, surprise me, because the professor was not on my radar at all.
So we didn't really explicitly say it, and if you've listened to it this far, I assume you've already read the book.
We hope.
Vanessa back in college had an affair with the professor. She didn't know that he was married, and then showed up to his house because he was like avoiding her calls, and she got pregnant. And then she like goes to the door, answers it, and the wife answers, and like Emma's the like saw the fallout of everything because the wife was like, excuse me, and then that dissolved, and then Emma's like, oh, blah blah blah, my life. And then she sees like Vanessa getting married and is like, ooh, I'm gonna sabotage this. And meanwhile Vanessa's like, ooh, I'm gonna get out of this relationship.
Yes.
And then just boom.
It was so funny that they both had like competing ideas to like ruin each other's lives, but also
Emma's like,
not.
no, I started like this relationship, and Vanessa's like, no, I fabricated this.
No, that was definitely that was a twisty ride.
Oh, one of my other lines in the song that like connected it was, did you forget about me, Mr. Duplicity? I hate to bug you in the middle of dinner, but it was a slap in the face how quickly I was replaced. And I think like Vanessa, as much as she, you know, pushed Emma onto Richard and Richard onto Emma, she was also like, hold on, wait a second. Like, you're getting married already? Like, this is happening all very soon. Like, and that replacement is just like, wait a second.
Yeah. And I think Vanessa explicitly says, like, I thought it would literally just be an affair. I didn't think he would propose to you. And that's where the guilt starts to like eat her alive. The one last line in here that specifically relates to Vanessa and like how she was trying to protect Emma was the never paid any mind to my mother or friends, so I shut them all out for you just like a kid. And that was the piece of the puzzle that Vanessa put together later on, where she was like, he isolated me from everyone in my life. He isolated me from my friends. He took away my dog. He took away any autonomy that I had for myself. And she was so worried because she kept saying in her internal monologue, like, he's going to take everything away from Emma. He's going to isolate her from friends and family. He's going to do this exact same thing. He's going to have these patterns. And I need to like save her from that. This is like the scorned woman song for sure.
It was a good choice.
Now look what we make you read. If you liked The Wife Between Us or like the vibes of it, a couple of books that we think you might want to pick up. The first one is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. If you haven't read it yet, I know that it's like the first book that you see anywhere for thrillers. It's been on the bestseller list for like 1,000 weeks. It is, you know, it has longevity for a reason, in my opinion. Like if someone asks me for an entry level thriller, this is one of the first ones that I give them. Like, I think The Housemaid has such crazy twists and turns that if you're not a thriller reader all the time, you would never see it coming and you would not expect it. And I think that makes it like a really, really great book to add to the list.
Yeah. And then go back to our previous podcast, and it was the first book we ever covered.
Oh, itty bitty babies.
Yep. And this one I haven't read yet, but I heard it's very similar to The Housemaid, so it is on my TBR, is The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. So similar vibes. I think all of these kind of are in the similar vibes, and I think
Yes.
You know, even with like fantasy romance, people are like, oh my gosh, they're copying each other. But there's only so many stories and different retellings. So
100%. Like, if you think you have an original idea, chances are you don't. Chances
and
are
it's not a bad thing.
No, that's what art is. Art is just like taking this information and
Interpretation.
disseminating it down to like your voice and your version
Mhm.
of the story. So yeah, they probably are similar plots and there's probably similar twists and stuff that have been done, but like that doesn't mean that you shouldn't read it because maybe you like this person's voice better, maybe you like the character a little bit better.
Exactly.
And the
Just
last
like
book I
Backstreet
have
Boys
on,
and
oh yeah,
NSYNC, you know?
exactly.
They're both boy
Exactly.
bands, but you know.
You have a vibe that you like more.
And I mean, NSYNC is the only right answer.
Unfortunately, I was not an NSYNC girly. I was a Backstreet Boys girly. So watching the Vegas Sphere
I mean, that looks pretty cool.
performance, I was like living my childhood through that. Anyway, one last book on this list for you guys. Hannah has not read this. This I read as I was starting to get back into reading as an adult. I think I read this in like 2019, 2020, somewhere around there. But The Wives by Taryn Fisher is another one where like you do not know which way is up. You cannot trust anything that you've read into the end. And when Kristen recommended this book, in my head, I thought it was The Wives by Taryn Fisher because like I didn't remember the title, but I remembered the book. So yeah, that's why I added that to the list too. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much first to Kristen for making us read this book.
Kristen.
We love you. Thank you. And thank you to thank you to you listeners for turning the pages with us this week. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, and once again, join my newsletter that I will get out eventually. And so just keeping up with everything on this side of the page.
On the other side of the page?
Oh, yeah. You know,
there's this side and the other side.
Join our newsletter to keep up with everything on the other side of the page.
Yes, and please, please, please drop that review and 5-star rating of the podcast on your preferred platform and share it with your bookish besties.
Next week, we are releasing our first ever late night talking episode where we are chatting about The Summer I Turned Pretty TV and book series.
We sure are. And we're primarily talking about the TV series because neither of us have actually read the book series, but that's what late night talking is for. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Maybe we'll throw some like Sarah Dessen, some other like
we totally should.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it. Don't worry. We'll have a plan. So forever and always,
keep reading with kindness.
Bye everyone.
Bye.